Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the final webinar for the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe. My name is Sarah Martin, and I'm the Regional Capacity Building Advisor for the Safeguarding Resource and Support Hub Eastern Europe, and I'll be your chair today. Interpretation is available in language in the buttons of panel speaking in English, and closed captioning in English is also available. We also record our webinars, and we'll send you a link after the webinar, and it'll be on our website for you to access whenever you would like. At the end of this webinar, there will be a question and answer session. Please feel free to write any questions you might have in the Q&A box at the bottom, down here at the bottom of the Zoom window. And after all the panelists have spoken, we will pose the questions to them. If you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat box now, please feel free. So for any of those of you who may be unfamiliar with the Hub, I would like to invite you to check out our website. The Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe is a resource for organizations and individuals responding to the war on Ukraine, and it provides practical and accessible safeguarding resources that aim to reduce harm to refugees and displaced people. We have a global hub with many resources to help you in your safeguarding journey as well as our other regional hubs in the Middle East, Asia, Africa, etc. So if you're joining us from outside Eastern Europe, please go and check out some of the resources we've developed there. But here in Eastern Europe, we've been focusing on the war on Ukraine for the past 18 months. People across the region in Eastern Europe mobilized to welcome and offer hospitalities to refugees and displaced people fleeing the war that started 18 months ago. Many organizations, both big and small, have been involved in the humanitarian response. Unfortunately, we do know in the humanitarian community that in times of crisis, there can also be harm done by humanitarians. This harm can include sexual exploitation and abuse, discrimination, or harassment. At the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe, we use the term safeguarding, which means preventing harm to people in the delivery of humanitarian assistance. So when you hear that term, that's what we're speaking about. So this end of program webinar is going to share some of our lessons learned on implementing safeguarding support between April 2022 and October 2023. We hope it will provide some insight for you into what we've learned about addressing safeguarding in the Eastern European and rapid onset emergency refugee context, which was new to the Hub as well. Our speakers are going to present safeguarding trends that we have noticed in the region, and we'll discuss successes and challenges in our different project sites in Moldova, Poland, and Romania. We also encourage you, the participants, to reflect and share on your own experiences in the chat as well, so we can discuss together how to address safeguarding in the region after our planned closure on the 31st of October next week. And we'd like to ensure sustainability and the focus on safeguarding remains in the region. So I'd like to now turn it over to our first two speakers, Moto Michikata from DEC, our funder, and Susanna Taylor, the regional lead for the Safeguarding Hub in Eastern Europe. Moto.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for the introduction, and good morning, everybody from London, UK, where I am based. So thank you so much for joining us on this webinar today. I'm hosted by Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe to hear all about 18 months of the work that the team has conducted tirelessly. So just to introduce myself, my name is Moto Michikata from DEC, or Disasters Emergency Committee, and I'm a grants manager looking after DEC's Ukraine humanitarian appeal. It's nice to see some familiar faces, as well as new faces here on this webinar today. So as we have audiences outside of DEC membership, welcome wherever you are. And just to give you a brief introduction to DEC, so the DEC brings together 15 of the leading UK charities to raise funds efficiently and effectively to respond to disasters worldwide. So we currently have 4 appeals ongoing, including Afghanistan crisis, Ukraine, Pakistan floods, and Turkey, Syria earthquake. So some background information on Ukraine. So the appeal was launched a week after the escalation of the conflict on 3rd of March last year. And DEC has since then raised over £423 million. And our programs cover Ukraine, Poland, Romania, Moldova. And we have recently completed implementing activities in Hungary at the end of August this year. And our work is conducted with 13 of the DEC member charities alongside their local partners in country. So when the Ukraine humanitarian appeal was launched last year, DEC has also allocated some funds for innovation, moving away from business as usual, tried and tested approaches to focus on non-traditional ways of working. So more focus on innovation, transformation and sustainability through capacity strengthening and mentoring support, guidance tools that would benefit not only DEC members and their local partners, but also to a wider humanitarian sector. So DEC has collaborated with Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe as one of the partners to act as a catalyst to lead on the transformation of safeguarding support in the region. So I would like to say a big thank you to Susie and everybody who has been involved on this journey so far. And I have personally learned a lot from the team by attending various webinars, listening to podcasts, and reading some very good contextualized reports. And I know that DEC members and local partners have benefited from the support provided by Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe. And we very much enjoyed engaging with you, especially during our monitoring visit to Romania and Moldova this year, and when we had in-person learning exchange and discussion meeting with two of the speakers today, Elena and Angela. So I think I have spoken enough for now. So I am handing over to Susie. So thank you very much and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you so much, Moto. It's really lovely to have you with us today. My name is Susanna Taylor, and I'm the regional lead for the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe. I'm just going to set the scene and give a short amount of background information. Next slide, please. I think we have one slide before that, which is going to tell us a little bit about the programme. What I can mention about the programme is that it was obviously funded by the Disasters Emergency Committee, and it covered the period April 2022 through till now the end of October. So that is an 18-month period. The main objective of the programme was to strengthen the safeguarding capacity, both in terms of policies and procedures, particularly of local civil society organisations in Eastern Europe, and also the wider humanitarian sector. It did this through direct face-to-face activities through national hubs, one in each of Romania, Poland, and Moldova, and also provided an online hub with a range of different resources, from written documents all the way through to webinars such as the one we're conducting today, podcasts, blogs, and an e-learning course. So a little bit of information about the humanitarian context when we started the programme. It was very much a changing situation with a highly mobile population of refugees, and that has continued through the 18 months or the 20 months of this programme, requiring a very agile response from the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe programme. We saw that there was the arrival into Eastern Europe of international humanitarian architecture. Whilst there was already a very strong civil society based in Eastern Europe, there was some limited knowledge of terms and concepts such as safeguarding or PSEA. So stronger knowledge of child safeguarding and child protection, as well as gender-based violence.
Local NGOs, local organisations of all types were very, very busy in the immediate response, and it was often hard to reach them for understandable reasons. And as I said, while there was a strong civil society presence, that civil society had not necessarily come across such a large or a conflict response of this nature beforehand. Next slide, please. We'll go on from there, as I've mentioned those points already. So this led to some exhaustion, obviously, and smaller CSOs really feeling very overwhelmed in the first few months, in particular, of the humanitarian response. And as I mentioned, there was a good understanding of certain terms such as child safeguarding, such as gender-based violence, but less of an understanding around safeguarding in terms of sexual exploitation and abuse. So that really sets the scene of the start of the programme. And I will now hand back to our chair, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Susie. So we're going to try something a little different today from our webinars. I don't know if you're familiar with the Menti. We're going to do a Mentimeter today. So if you could take out your telephone and go to www.menti.com and then enter in the code 6140-0254. Again, the code is 6140-0254. You could also scan the QR code on the screen if you'd like to. And then we'll practice a little bit just to get you used to it. And then we want to hear a little bit from you. So we thought this might be an interesting way to get some feedback from you. So if people are ready, the first question we have for you is, how do you like your coffee? So there's a couple of response things in there that you can go to and us understand a little bit more about you. Great. Oh, a lot of strong coffee drinkers. That's not surprising in Eastern Europe. We have some vegans with oat milk, people who like cow milk, I'm assuming. Short black, some people do not like. It's non-existent. They're not into coffee. I'm actually a tea drinker myself. Great. Thank you for that. All right. So let's see as we continue through there. For our next question is, where are you right now? So there's a couple of options you have. You can put your country, your home office, if you're sitting on the couch, if you're in wherever you are, the name of your city. Join in and let us get an idea for where everyone's calling in from. Johannesburg, South Africa. Great. Poland, Ireland, England, Belgium, Romania. Hope to see some Romanians and some Polish people and some Moldovans as well. Geez, now. Great. Great. I myself am in Greece. Let me add it in there. And so you can see from there. Great. So we got a strong presence from London, which, due to our funders being based in the UK, and a lot of us have been working in the UK, it's not surprising, but of course, great presence from Ukraine, Poland, Romania, and Moldova. And someone's working from home with their cats. I am also. So that's good to see. All right, let's try one more. Let's see. So this one, you can use an emoji if you like. How are you feeling today? If you can't get the emoji thing to work, feel free to go ahead and put a word. And let's be respectful with the emojis. Let's make sure that we're not going to say anything crazy. So there we go. People are good but tired, ready to take challenges, feeling wonderful and fantastic. A little sleepy, yeah. It's the end of the week and it's autumn, so the seasons are changing. Great, some happy. Yeah, some cool breezes with their sunglasses. Wonderful. All right, so now that you're familiar with Mentimeter, let's try out, we'd like to hear a little bit more about you. So the first question that we have for you is, can you send a word that reflects your thoughts about our work at the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe? An emoji or a word. You can be creative if you like. Oh, that's good. That's good that the first one is positive. Great. Thank you. It's nice to hear it's important, supportive, innovative. That's wonderful. We're hoping to be innovative. We've been trying. Learning, professional responsibilities, lovely, crucial. That's great to hear. Necessary, encouraging. Very nice, very positive. Thank you so much for that. So now we would like to ask you, what do you think are the biggest issues with safeguarding in your current context? Is it one, that there are no reported cases, so difficult to know if it's happening? 2, that you need more coaching? 3, that you need more tools? 4, that there's insufficient technical expertise in your context? Or is there other? And if it's other, you're going to be able to tell us what it is on the next slide. So yeah, it looks like everyone is struggling a bit with the lack of reported cases, which makes it hard to talk about things you don't see. More coaching needed. Yeah. Need more tools, insufficient technical expertise coming up. Yeah. But definitely the no reported case is something that everyone is kind of struggling with as well. So, okay. Thank you for that. For the next question, if you said other, what is the issue? If we didn't catch it on that first slide, what are the issues that you're seeing in your context regarding safeguarding? You can type in the chat there. Lack of awareness. Yeah, people not really knowing about this term or this concept of safeguarding and what it means. Lots of subcontractors. That's interesting. Yeah. No funding. Yeah, a classic dilemma. It's not seen as a priority. Denial. Yes. The lack of awareness is one thing, but denial is another very strong issue as well. But okay, great. Thank you so much for that. We're seeing more projects online, lack of prioritization. People are hesitant to address it. Yeah. Not seen as a priority. Okay. All right. And then this is for us to understand about how familiar you are with our projects. Which ones have you used from the Safeguarding Hub? We've got documents, we have different meetings that we've had, podcasts, the trainings, the coaching activities that we did, the webinars. Oh, great. Yeah, the webinars were very popular. I was always very pleased to be able to chair our regional webinars. It's a great way for us all to get together across the countries. So yeah, okay, great. Thank you for sharing this. Then our next question would be, and this is the last one for this section. We're going to come back to Menti at the end of the webinar. But what did you think? How was Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe's contribution to the needs of CSOs in your context? Red, not very much. Yellow, some. Green, a lot. Okay, great. Yeah. Lots of people voting. Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, thank you for doing the Mentimeter with us. Like I said, we'll come back to this at the end of the webinar. We'll ask you a few more questions about your experience. And for right now, if there's anything you want to share with us or tell us, you can put it in the chat, but also encourage you to write any questions that you might have in the Q&A at the end of the presentation, because we're going to pose these questions to our presenters after they finish. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so it's my honor to present Alketa Lascu, who I worked with very closely on capacity building in the project. And she's going to lead us through some of the lessons that we've learned in the regional approach, as well as tell you a bit more about our technical work. Thank you, Alketa.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, everyone. Here, Alketa from Budapest speaking. So I will be introducing you with some of the processes that we have been following to establish the Safeguarding Hub for Eastern Europe, but as well some of the regional observations, and afterwards will be handing it over to my colleagues speaking from the countries. So as probably you are aware, the Safeguarding Hub for Eastern Europe, it is already was starting with the right experience somehow, because we were basing this approach on the global safeguarding hub that it is currently in 12 locations across the globe. But what it was specific to this project, it was the fact that since the beginning, it was paid a lot of attention to be able to understand the context and how the context in Eastern Europe, specifically in the 3 countries of implementation, as Moldova, Romania, and Poland, was different from the other places. And in order to do that, we have been conducting national needs assessments, and the special focus of these needs assessments in the 3 countries was on the needs actually of the most marginalized groups somehow. And we had the needs assessment conducted for the LGBTQI and people with disabilities. And especially for the LGBTQI, we have been working very closely with the Kiev Pride that were part of all this process. What was other things specific to this approach? We have been able to incorporate the language and the data that we have been receiving from the needs assessment, and really to expand the accessibility of the resources. They have been the resources already available in plain languages, and trainings have been provided interpretation, specifically in all the languages that the hub was aiming to cover mostly. So we have the resources in Romanian, in Polish, in Russian, and as well we can proudly say that we have them in Romani language as well. This was a huge effort of many people that are part of this team to be able to provide with the best quality, but contextualized in the same time those resources. Overall, the implementation of the 18 months program, we had intersectionality as the core or the paramount principle during the implementation. And we have seen this on always looking to involve and consult with the key stakeholders that are operating in the 3 countries, but not only when it comes to safeguarding issues. But a specific attention was paid always to including and consulting with the Roma community, with the LGBTQI, with elderly persons, and as well with persons with disability. And the 3 national needs assessment that we have been conducting at the beginning of the program made it this really possible to have it conducted and further developed. Next, please. As it was a capacity development program, we paid a lot of focus and attention and time and energy to really strengthen the capacities, not only of our internal technical team that are part of this webinar today, but many of you, I'm sure that you have been already in contact, but to identify key consultants coming from each one of the countries, and to be able to engage meaningfully these consultants in delivering of specific trainings, in the coaching programs, or focused of course, provided to civil society organizations working with LGBTQI people, disability, and on different topics such as psychological first aid and training skills. We developed a consultants directory that will be still available in the website, and for any need that you might have, you will be able to consult this directory. Next, please. As Sarah was mentioning, and you as well in the responses that you provided in the Mentimeter, we have been conducting many webinars, and the regional activities have been the webinar series on the different topics. Participation in the regional PCA networks, I would really like to highlight that the contribution that our national representatives and as well our colleagues had been contributing to the UN PCA networks. And in addition to that, we have been developing guidance for leaders of civil society organizations on how to strengthen further their safeguarding systems, but not only culture included as well. A very interesting service that we have been providing is the regional help desk. And why this it is kind of to be highlighted was the fact that it gave to us for the first time the opportunity to go beyond our usual geographical coverage, such as Romania, Moldova, and Poland. But we received requests for in the help desk from other countries, such as Slovakia. We had requests from Czech Republic as well. So other countries and from civil society organizations that they're working in the response, but from other countries. And of course, this support was provided by the consultants, experts, or the team that are part of the project. Next, please. You already know probably, and you are familiar, my colleagues will be elaborating much more actually on the highlights from the countries of implementation. However, I will just wrap up here some of the national activities that we have been organizing, such as the roundtables, the webinars in the local languages, the participation in the SEA networks, the training, coachings, and all the documents, again, will have been contextualized in local languages. And my colleagues, Angela, Elena, and Caroline, unfortunately, she's not with us, but they know how much time that they've been paying to really properly contextualize specifically some terms when it comes to safeguarding and to be as much calling and reflecting the local context. Communication has been conducted in local languages through our newsletters, blogs, and podcasts. Next, please. So here, just in some of the numbers, just visually sharing with you some of the key figures when it comes to the number of people who have been accessing the website. So we can say that we are proud that we have around 21,531 people who have been accessing the website, 900 people who actually have been attending the live webinars events. And if you can see, especially in terms of the numbers of downloaded resources, it is 8,242 times that people have been downloading all our resources, meaning podcasts, webinar recordings, and all the other resources. So those are just some of the key figures, but of course the numbers are only part of the story, not showing everything, but still are just giving a visual representation of the work that has been conducted in these 18 months. Next, please. So with the team, we consider it important to share with you some of our regional observations that we have been noticing based on our experience as well, but all the other activities that we have been implementing during this period of time. The first observation that, and this is valid and it applies to the three countries, but not only, I would say, is the fact that the regional work actually needs to be contextualized to the countries. But however, it is useful to introduce new topics such as the ones that we have been already working on, as such as the LGBTQI, elderly persons, and people with disability. So this was something that was kind of in the innovative part of the approach that we have been following, but still we cannot say that this was fully covered, as there are needs to be worked further. Next, please. A lot of attention was paid and time to the translations in the local languages. However, our key message here and observation is that contextualization, it will go beyond just translation. It's super useful to have these resources in the local languages. However, the resources and the materials should be like really based on the needs of the countries. For instance, we have noticed during the implementation that in Eastern Europe, there was a strong interest on investigation specifically. However, in order to be able to be properly contextualized, we had webinars delivered, but the need to really reflect in the training materials the specific legal context. For instance, in Poland, we really discovered the importance of really referring, and in other countries as well. Specifically in Poland, it was mostly when it comes to safer recruitment, and we had to do a very thorough legal analysis for this. Next, please. In the Mentimeter, it was interesting that we see that our presentation and observations are aligned with what you already shared in the Mentimeter. So yes, we support, and we have noticed the fact that we didn't have much reporting on the cases, and which has been actually showing that safeguarding, it was not one of the top priorities for civil society organization, and it was mostly perceived like a check the box exercise, how we sometimes say, especially when it comes to that we have to have a safeguarding policy or to have code of conducts, because of the fact that our donors are requiring this. So it was more perceived safeguarding in light with the compliance and donor requirements. Next, please. Well, the crisis that we had and all the interventions, and I saw here that there are many colleagues from the region that are operating directly in this region, having activities. I don't know if you agree with that, but for us, the observation is the fact that our work and the work of civil society organizations in Eastern Europe should have a system strengthening approach. What that means that really focus the work and work closely with local authorities and public government institutions in order to make sure that we have accountability and monitoring of the work that civil society organizations are conducting. Specifically, as we see that the crisis has been sometimes now that ongoing, so it is really the need to more strengthen this collaboration with public institutions. We know that it is sometimes challenging, but it is crucial to be really providing the needed support for our aid recipients. Next, please. As it was already mentioned, like and as well in your responses to the Mentimeter, the fact that it is lack of support in the region for civil society organizations to support them in their safeguarding journey. So more coaching and mentoring especially of small civil society organizations in safeguarding is needed. Next. Especially when it comes to specific topics when it comes to investigations, as it was mentioned earlier, it was a strong interest, but however, to provide coaching and mentoring and really invest on the building trust in reporting systems is one of the observations that we have it for the next steps as well, and the next phase, if will be any continuation further on from other civil society organizations, it is super crucial to take it into account. Next, please. Another offer that we had, and we have been spending time, energy, and working closely with some of you that I saw that you already are connected, that have been part of the coaching program that we have provided. And what was this coaching that we worked on for? We have been focusing on small civil society organizations in Moldova. We had 5 civil society organizations that have been part of the coaching. We had 2 in Romania, and as well we had 2 in Poland. So the whole process, it was organized through a coach work plan. We conducted a self-evaluation, and we have been as well providing safeguarding essentials trainings, and either our national representatives or consultants that we have been engaging as experts has been providing really face-to-face support and one-to-one meetings with these civil society organizations, either to develop their policies, to provide trainings for their staff, so according to their needs. Next, please. So I'll be pleased to hand it over to my colleagues that will be introducing the country-specific achievements. Sarah?
Thank you, Alketa, and thanks for so graciously presenting all of the work that we did at the regional level. Just want to remind everyone to please go ahead, if you have any questions for Alketa, to put them in the Q&A session, because she's going to be back after we hear from our country representatives to respond to questions as well. Now, it's my great pleasure to hand it over to Elena Cufaro, who is our national representative for Romania, who's going to tell us all about the story in Romania. Elena.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Dear colleagues, thank you for joining us and for joining me today as I share with you the incredible journey of the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe in Romania over the past 18 months. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to discuss our approach, our successes, challenges, and priorities, all of which I truly believe that have contributed to the noble and very necessary cause of safeguarding in the region. In Romania, the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe's approach has been characterized by a dedication to maintaining strict boundaries while working with local civil society organizations. And we focused on two critical groups: the OPDs, the Organizations of Persons with Disabilities, and the OFPDs, Organizations for People with Disabilities. This decision was taken based on identified needs through our research that clearly demonstrated a lack of disability-inclusive safeguarding resources and capacity-building tools for this type of CSOs. By concentrating efforts and focused on OPDs and OFPDs, we were really able to foster a robust, inclusive safeguarding environment in Romania that has benefited the Romanian civil society and many other humanitarian actors at large. Furthermore, our commitment to collaboration and information dissemination was exemplified by the role as co-chair of the PSA Network Romania. This really enabled us to identify specific needs of NGOs, of INGOs, and to further contextualize resources, and thereby strengthening the efforts to disseminate critical information. Lastly, we attempted to create a stronger safeguarding community in Romania and Moldova by facilitating a community of practice among safeguarding practitioners in both countries. And I feel that this initiative has really encouraged the exchange of ideas, strategies, and best practices, ensuring that practitioners learn from one another as they were both working towards a common goal. Next slide, please. One of our most significant achievements was the Persons with Disabilities Roundtable. This gathering provided a platform for both OPDs and OFPDs to come together and openly discuss safeguarding risks, the safeguarding needs of their own organizations, the specific needs of refugees, but also the development of a comprehensive country strategy for the hub. I feel that this open dialogue has been instrumental in driving progress in inclusive safeguarding practices. Another success story worth mentioning, and one which I am very much proud of, is our partnership with the National Association of the Deaf. We have walked with them on their safeguarding journey, from participation to a roundtable, then participation in a training, and then coaching, to helping them in securing funding to develop materials on sexual exploitation and abuse, both in Romanian and Ukrainian Sign Language. Moreover, through their grant, they will be able to create resources for the humanitarian actors on the do's and the don'ts on how to communicate with the people that suffer from hearing impairments. So all these resources not only will ensure important information is accessible, but will also empower refugees with hearing impairments to protect themselves and report incidents. Next slide, please. Of course, our journey has not been without its fair share of challenges. Many smaller and under-resourced CSOs, while being very enthusiastic about safeguarding, often found themselves overburdened reluctant and struggling to stay actively engaged. And I must strongly emphasize that it's essential for us, for the whole community, for members of the DEC and implementing partners to continue finding ways to effectively support these organizations that have started their safeguarding journey. Another significant challenge has been the lack of or insufficient reporting on SEA. This is a troubling trend and seems to act as a significant push-out factor for those who should be reporting and also for those who should encourage people to report. I think that we must collectively address this issue in order to create an environment where individuals do feel safe and empowered to report abuse. But I would also like to emphasize the fact that building trust to speak out against any form of abuse is already very hard, let alone doing it in a foreign country and language. So please be patient, don't give up, and be relentless on informing refugees about acceptable and unacceptable behaviors, about reporting channels, but also train your staff on safeguarding and PSCA standards. Next slide, please. As we move forward, I think there are two key priorities that could guide the actions of humanitarian actors in Romania in the coming months. First and foremost, commitment to raising awareness among refugees regarding acceptable and unacceptable behaviors, their rights, and reporting channels. I do believe that empowering them is crucial to safeguarding their well-being and dignity. And secondly, instilling a culture of safeguarding in leadership roles that actively discourages abuse and harassment while promoting the overall well-being of all the individuals involved. I do think that the cultural shift is essential for creating a safe and protective environment. And I can speak from experience and the experience of other colleagues that having a senior manager who makes herself visible on this topic and really pushes efforts to inform and train staff on safeguarding makes a big difference, because this model will be followed by the whole team and by the whole community. So in conclusion, the journey of the Safeguarding Hub Eastern Europe in Romania has been marked by dedication, by collaboration and progress. And as we move forward, and as you move forward, I would really like to encourage you to keep safeguarding at the very forefront of your mission and day-to-day work. And, you know, in case of need, you can always browse the resource library on the hub to get those materials that will support you to foster an inclusive safeguarding response. Thank you very much for your time, and I really look forward to our continued collaboration in the vital field of safeguarding. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elena. There's some love being expressed to you in the chat from some of your colleagues who've really appreciated your hard work in Romania. And you can get, you know, if you have a question for Elena, please put it in the Q&A. You can also put it in the chat if you prefer, and we'll make sure that she has some time to respond after our next presentations. And you can get all of our Romanian language resources on our website too. And the website will be available until 2025. Thanks again, Elena, for all your hard work. So next slide, please. Unfortunately, our colleague, Karolina Mancevic, is sick today. So, you know, it takes a lot of people to fill in her shoes to present from Poland. So a little team of 3 of us will attempt to do justice to all the work that's been done in Poland over the past 18 months. And so I'd like to start to fill in for her and just tell you about what our strategy was in Poland. So because Poland had such a large number of refugees, and that meant that there were also a lot of international NGOs, a lot of different people that were there working on the response. And when we began to do our trainings and we began to pilot the training programs that we developed in Poland, we realized that probably the best area for our niche would be to get outside of Warsaw and to work with the local CSOs who were along the border and further away from the capital. And so we found that there was a lot of saturation of people getting trained in Poland. A lot of it was around compliance for getting funding from larger NGOs. And we had developed what we thought was a pretty good participatory training to help local CSOs kind of wrap their brains around what exactly is safeguarding and to think about how they could start to address it. So we went outside of Warsaw and we moved into the rural areas to be able to reach out to that. Now, my colleague Inez is going to tell you a little bit more about it, and she can introduce herself as well. Inez.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ines Książek, and I'm the Regional Hub Manager working with Karolina and the rest of the team. As Sarah said, unfortunately, Karolina is off sick today, so I will do my best to talk about her brilliant work in Poland. Can I have the next slide, please? So let's start with something positive and let's look at the successes. So the key area of work which Karolina has been focusing on has been the safe recruitment. And as some of you might know, there were very limited or actually no checks being conducted in Poland prior to the war. And then as in every humanitarian emergency, everyone needed to scale up quickly. So associated with that is the rapid recruitment, and very often during the recruitment on such a scale, because just so many staff is needed to fill in and be able to deliver the humanitarian aid needed. Very often at such times, the checks are not conducted, and this was particularly difficult in Poland because, as I said, prior to the war, there were no checks really conducted or close to none. So what Karolina has done to talk about this situation with other organizations in Poland who were focused on this area and have seen it as particularly important, she established a very good working relationship with Polish Humanitarian Action and the members of the PSEA network, as well as the PSEA coordinator in country. And thanks so much for joining us today, Irene. And together with all those stakeholders, Karolina looked at the laws which are applicable in this jurisdiction. So she mapped how the GDPR and how the national labor law might be affecting the checks we might be able to conduct or not in Poland. It was a great success to find out that the safe recruitment processes can be implemented in Poland and that all those checks can be conducted. This took months of hard work, so I would just like to congratulate everyone involved. Karolina written a resource out of it, which is available in both English and Polish. We will put a link in the chat box, but you can also find it on our website. It provides some top-line guidance on how to navigate both GDPR and the National Labor Code, just to make sure that you are considering all circumstances you need to consider while conducting reference checks. The other area of key successes has been the work Karolina has done with LGBTQI+ organizations in Poland. Karolina has organized a roundtable which brought together the organizations working locally in Poland. And I think what is really important to underline here is that learning from the expertise and experience from organizations who were working with the LGBTQI+ community before the war on Ukraine has started has really been key. And I will talk a bit about why this is so particularly important in Poland a bit later in this presentation. Can I have the next slide, please? Of course, with every successes, there come some challenges. And actually, the first one is linked to what I just said about the LGBTQI+ roundtable, which Karolina has organized. So in Poland, the political and social situation has been difficult. It was one of the challenges. So in Poland, there is a near total abortion ban. There is also, unfortunately, a huge discrimination of ethnic minorities such as Roma people, and LGBTQI+ community is also facing some serious discrimination, with LGBT-free zones being established across the country. So Karolina's work in this area has been of particular importance, just because it was just a safe space for all the organizations working on the LGBTQI+ rights to come together and share their recommendations and help us not only understand the safeguarding risk the LGBTQI+ refugees might face, but also look for practical recommendations which we could then share with other organizations. The other challenges was the tension between the local organizations and the international actors. It was at times felt, especially at the beginning of the crisis, that there is insufficient support, that there is no clarity about how long the funding for local organizations will be available. There was also some misunderstanding, just I would say, linked to the terminology. So in Poland, the terminology linked to safeguarding is new. So this is not something that has been available in Poland prior to the war. So I think there was some time needed just to overcome all those misunderstandings. And this resulted in great working relationships being established. And I think the credit goes to Karolina, to all the local organizations, and to the support of international organizations who all came together to try and find a way that works for everyone involved. And considering the number of refugees in Poland, this was, of course, key in making sure that we all can work together on safeguarding and mitigating any risks associated with that. The last challenge, which was already mentioned at the regional level, is the fact that safeguarding has been seen as a due diligence requirement, something more of a box-ticking exercise which needs to be conducted to receive the funding. So again, this is something that took some time to be implemented and explained enough so that people started understanding, and it resonated with their values and with what they were doing so far. Could I have the next slide, please? And I think what is particularly interesting, and this is a set of our priorities in Poland right now, is that, as I've been saying, there were some challenges in the beginning, but that's how it always looks like. But right now, we can see that there is change of mindset. So first of all, the change of mindset is related to the fact that we are no longer in the emergency humanitarian phase. We are moving more to the development and long-term strategy. But also there is a very important shift when it comes to safeguarding being more embedded in the local culture. And it is very key to acknowledge that while the terminology related to the safeguarding and safeguarding as a concept itself might have been new in Poland, the organizations who work in Poland prior to the war on Ukraine have been doing quite a lot of what we would see as safeguarding activities. They were just not calling it that. So I think right now, overall great progress have been made, and there is a very good mix of this local expertise and also the international safeguarding standards and better understanding of how they are linked together and how they are overlapping. So it's fantastic to see that the local organizations and the international actors all work together, bringing their best experience to just really make it work and strengthen our safeguarding activities in Poland. And the last priority, which I would like to mention, is that local NGOs in Poland have shared with us that what they really found useful was the set of practical tools. So this could be workshops, case studies, this could be specific risk assessments, which are not too generic or wide for their work, also some templates and other documents. And you can find all of those resources on our website. I believe my colleagues are putting links in the chat box. But also we will hear more about the practical approach to our work in Poland from my colleague. So I will stop here. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Ines, and thanks for jumping in to be able to present this. Your work also has been invaluable in helping us support in Poland too. Alketa, can I turn to you to speak a little bit about the coaching help desk that we did in Poland?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. Well, it was mentioned earlier that specifically for Poland, we had a strategy to focus more outside of Warsaw. So for Karolina, she has been focusing on one of the case studies that we wanted to share actually is the support provided to the Association of Ukrainians in Poland, that they started actually as a group of volunteers to be engaged at the beginning of the crisis, and afterwards they consolidated and formalized more their work into a civil society organization. So since the beginning, it was provided together with Karolina. They went through a kind of a self-diagnostic, self-reflection to see where they stand in terms of safeguarding and how within their organization they can embed some of the safeguarding principles, and as well reflected and translated afterwards into policies, systems, and procedures. So this, it was already provided to them, and through the ongoing coaching system that it was put it in place. The other support, actually, it was important to highlight that we had quite some requests coming from Poland to help desk, and the requests have been mostly either to support with some training materials or awareness raising materials when it comes to safeguarding for small civil society organization. However, I must say that thanks to the collaboration that it was established in the country, it was really perceived and seen the need to have specifically some more targeted trainings on specific topics that we have been covering as the LGBTQI or working with people with disabilities. That's it. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Alketa. And again, on behalf of our colleague, Karolina, who couldn't be here today, we'd like to thank her too for all of her work, and for everyone who has helped us and worked with us in Poland, including some of our great consultants that we've had there. So now, can I have the next slide? I'd like to invite my colleague, Dr. Angela Kara, to come and speak about Moldova. And Angela is joined today with one of our local partners in Moldova, Elena Serbu, who will also speak after her. And please, everyone, if you have any questions, we're seeing some questions come in the Q&A, and we're getting prepared to answer them. So please feel free to write them in there. Angela.
Thank you, Alketa. Dear colleagues, I will present the key achievements, challenges, and priorities for Moldova Safeguarding Support Hub. In terms of our approach, I would like to highlight the following. Firstly, we used the network from previous work to identify civil society organizations involved in the refugee response. Secondly, the country needs assessment conducted in Moldova identified strong partnerships between civil society organizations and local authorities, especially in rural areas. Based on this, our strategy was focused on cooperation with local authorities to support civil society organizations to implement safeguarding policies, involving both civil society organizations and local authorities representatives in our activities. And I am very happy that our colleagues from civil society organizations, local public authorities, psychopedagogical support services joined our webinar. Thank you so much for this. I'd like to share with you a concrete example of cooperation between civil society organizations and the Republican Center of Psychopedagogical Assistance, responsible for implementation of inclusive policies in Moldova. In October, we organized a roundtable with the representatives of all psychopedagogical support services from all of Moldova, and we discussed about the cooperation with civil society organizations in implementation of inclusive child safeguarding policies. I would like to highlight the fact that the director of the psychopedagogical support services attended our online and offline events, including our regional event hosted by Terdezon Moldova. It was a great opportunity for representatives of civil society organizations to address questions and to identify solutions in implementation of safeguarding inclusive policy. Slide, please. In terms of our success, I would like to share with you our work with Roma civil society organizations on refugee response. First of all, I would like to note that in our activities, we focused on an intersectoral approach. We involved all stakeholders, the state, international, national, civil society organization, and local Roma communities. I'd like to highlight the fact that one of the organizations who supported us in our work with Roma refugees from Ukraine was Roma Women Platform Romania, a leading organization in Moldova involved in refugee response. I would like to highlight the following activities that we organized to support Roma refugees from Ukraine. At the beginning of the program, we organized a roundtable to present the country needs assessment, inviting the key stakeholders involved in the refugee response, the National Agency of Interethnic Relations, civil society organization, community mediators. During our roundtable, it was highlighted that it is important to have the community mediators well-trained in safeguarding. Based on this, we conducted the safeguarding training for community mediators, including from Transnistria region and Gagauza autonomy, working with Roma refugees. I would like to highlight the fact that community mediators from Transnistria region appreciated very much the materials of safeguarding translated in Russian language. We also conducted a focus group discussion with Roma women in order to identify the safeguarding risks. During our discussion with Roma women from Ukraine, it was mentioned that it was very important aspect is that staff from Romania platform can discuss with the refugees in their native language in Romani. Testing of PSCA glossary in Romani in partnership with Clear Global was very much appreciated by participants of our discussions. And in order to share good practices on refugee response, we recorded a podcast with the president of Roma Women Platform, Romania. Next slide, please. I all would like to share with you our work on safeguarding investigation. We conducted a national webinar on investigation with international experts and local lawyers. And more than 100 participants from Moldova attended the event. The feedback of participants was very positive. And based on this, we decided to contextualize the document How to Know on Investigation to Moldova Context. The recommendation sheet adapted to Moldova context reflects how civil society organizations in the Republic of Moldova can manage safeguarding investigations in the workplace. Safeguarding investigation was also a topic discussed during our coaching session. Slide, please. In terms of challenges, I would like to highlight the following. First of all, a civil society organization reported challenges with funding, including short-term grants. Humanitarian funding was often allocated to larger, more established organizations rather than small ones. partnership between the public and civil sectors is usually project-based, which means that cooperation is exhausted after the project is completed. The feedback provided from the training identifies the need to work with local authorities from education and child protection areas to support civil society organizations. I would like to highlight the fact that small local civil society organizations are very overloaded also in Moldova, as in Romania and Poland, to have a focal point for safeguarding. In our activities, we try to be as flexible as possible to meet on our own program. Next slide, please. In terms of priorities, I would like to identify the following. In terms of stakeholders cooperation, it's important to strengthen the collaboration between civil society organizations, international NGOs, and UN agencies on implementation of safeguarding policies. It's important to facilitate efforts of civil society organizations across Moldova, including smaller civil society organizations and civil society organizations from Transnistria region to access funding to develop and implement safeguarding policies. It's important to create additional opportunities for dialogue and promote communication between donors and civil society organizations, including through inviting civil society organizations to participate in donor roundtables. It's important to provide coaching sessions for civil society organizations to support them to get small financial grants to develop their safeguarding policies. And finally, it's important to develop resources to support the professional development, especially in the safeguarding area of the community mediators working with Roma communities. In terms of recommendation for local public authorities, it's important to strengthen the local public authorities' procedures in Moldova so they can better support civil society organizations, including Roma civil society organizations, to implement safeguarding policies. And for civil society organizations, it's important to promote the good practices of appointing a focal point in every organization. Thank you so much for your attention. And I'd like to present my colleague from Moldova, Mrs. Elena Sârbu, the president of Roma Women Platform in Moldova.
Hello to everyone. My name is Elena Sârbu, and I'm head of Roma Women Platform, Romni from Moldova. Thank you so much, Mr. Hara, for giving me this opportunity to express our gratitude for this very good practice on safeguarding policies. Safeguarding policies is a good tool to implement and to use when we are talking about protection. We, as a civil society, when the Russian attack started in Ukraine, we didn't know what is safeguarding policies. We learned step by step in our everyday work. But when Mr. Kara gave us possibility to participate in such important training event, we accept, because when I say we, I want to share with you the thing that in Romni organization, we have 15 mediators that work on the field with refugee. So this exercise was very good for us to understand what is the priority of safeguarding policies, how we can use in our work, and who actually is the main on this duty regarding the safeguarding on Roma kids and Roma women, but also elderly people or people with specific needs. So during this workshop that we had training, our mediator that we have like 4 men and the rest are women, which it's very good opportunity as well for Roma women to reach the status in the local level. So we had a discussion with the men that starting to change their opinion about the safeguarding policies, because what is the mean, the vulnerability, and how Roma women, Roma kids can be victim on different situations like economical, psychological, household victim, and so on. It's not a secret that Roma community is very traditional, and this first step that we do this training, it's just the beginning of a new, let's say, trend in Roma community from Moldova, because it's important to have this training further with other Roma organizations and for them to be engaged on this process. And I would like to congratulate the Eastern Europe Hub platform that give this possibility for civil society, Roma civil society from Moldova, to participate in such a great training that give us possibility to become more stronger, more professional as a humanitarian worker and also as a human rights fighter. Yes. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Elena. And thank you so much for your participation today and joining us. It feels so valuable to hear your voice and to listen to your reflections. So thank you again for joining us. I'd like to invite Alketa now to just summarize a little bit more about what we're doing in the region, and then we're going to turn to your questions in the Q&A. There's been some good questions in there, and after Alketa finishes this, we'll hear from you guys.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Elena, for sharing your feedback. It means a lot to us. I speak on behalf of the whole team. So what is next and how the Safeguarding Eastern Europe will be providing some of the recommendations on how the work will be continuing further. So again, we would like to highlight the fact that the coaching is really a good tool or approach to really be able to shift the mentality and not seeing like safeguarding as more check the box or box checking exercise, just related with due diligence and compliance. But really through coaching, we have seen, and we hope that this will find opportunities, other organizations to continue as well there. The key message, as all you know, is that safeguarding is a journey, so it is not a destination. So there is a work that is built step by step. Of course, that it's not finished, as Sarah has been writing in the chat, but the message here is as well that the website, the resources will be still available, and we will be really willing, and we pass the baton to the others who are willing to continue, and mostly to donors or who are other key stakeholders that are interested to continue the work. And of course, to emphasize again the fact that safeguarding it must include all needs from the beginning, and paying again attention to the most marginalized or more at-risk groups. Thank you everyone and the team, and for all your contributions. Sarah, over.
All right, thank you. So we're very happy to get some questions in the Q&A for our speakers. So I'd like to invite our speakers to turn their cameras back on so we can answer, we can hear from them. So the first question I have, and this was answered also in the chat, but was there a particular tool developed for CSO self-evaluation and safeguarding? And yes, there were. Elena, did you want to say a few words about that in Romania?
Well, I mean, I have posted there the tool, but I've used it very closely with the NGOs that participated in the coaching program. They found it useful and very easy to fill it out. So yeah, my hope is that all the others that will use it in the future will have a similar experience. But it was anyways a great tool to have in order to plan ahead and decide what are, you know, the actions and standards that they really wanted to prioritize.
Thanks, Elena. So the next question I have is for Elena and Angela. Can you explain a little bit more about how you moved from training to coaching? Were the same people who took the trainings the ones who actually came to the coaching?
I can go ahead.
Great.
So in our case, the answer is yes. Actually, the people that participated in one of the roundtables, they stayed interested and they expressed an interest in receiving a training on safeguarding essentials. And out of those that participated in the trainings, then there were a very few, 2 organizations that also wanted to participate in the coaching program. So as I said, it was really great to accompany them on this safeguarding journey. But what I would like perhaps to highlight is the importance of finding allies. And you can find allies, you know, in a senior manager, but you can also find an ally in a staff who wants to become the focal person on safeguarding, which was actually the case in, you know, in Romania with both of the CSOs that participated in our coaching program. All the efforts were mostly driven by a staff who, as I said, wanted to become the safeguarding focal point. So yeah, I guess, yeah, those are the highlights.
In terms of Moldova, I would like to mention that we used the network from our previous work in Moldova, working with a civil society organization focused on disability, child protection, and they were very motivated to participate in our safeguarding training, in our online, offline events, including in coaching program. And we are very happy with this, and they asked us, because they are very overloaded, these are a small civil society organization working especially in rural areas, and we try to be as flexible as possible to meet them as their own program. But these 5 civil society organizations who participated in our coaching program, they were very active, motivated, and participated in all our online, offline events, including safeguarding training and coaching program. And thank you for this, and I hope for future cooperation with this civil society organization, as I know they are still working with local public authorities from the region to consolidate, to implement safeguarding policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. So the next question I had was also answered in the chat, but did we?
Sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing,
Sure, go ahead.
just if that's fine. I think I wanted to add, you know, the added value of the safeguarding hub in this very specific situation, because we never, you know, sought to convince NGOs that they need to comply with certain standards. It was always about, you know, them understanding the value of safeguarding and wanting to collaborate with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Elena. Sorry for cutting you off at the beginning. So what I was going to say is we also had a question about any awareness raising materials for safeguarding of children. And we do have some, and we'll put them in the chat here. And they were developed with our global team, but I think that you'll find them useful. Child safeguarding, of course, is very close to the heart of the work that we do here. Would any of you all like to reflect on that? Kit, I know you're particularly passionate about child safeguarding as well.
No, just to add that actually we had quite some requests in help desk as well to support small civil society organizations on child safeguarding materials. But what I would really encourage further on to be worked besides the resources that we have worked is to really try to involve children in the process, or having these policies and procedures in a child-friendly language, which during this time frame of the program we didn't manage, but still we have been working on different products that you can see on identifying the risk when it comes specifically to child safeguarding and so on. Yeah. Yes, Ines, thank you. You already copied. Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Then my next question goes to all of the panelists. How did the different phases of the conflict in Ukraine impact your work? Were there any problems that you encountered promoting safeguarding and supporting people due to the war itself?
I can start, Sarah, and after I'm sure Elena and Angela will fit in. So, of course, we saw, like, being in this position and have seen the different stages. I can say definitely in terms of safeguarding at the beginning of the crisis, it was a lot of, we needed a bit of time, everybody to really put our head together, what it will be happening and how we can mostly mobilize ourselves. We saw an increase definitely at the beginning of the number of volunteers that were engaged, especially when it comes to the support. And of course, afterwards, this number started to decrease, engaged either in the accommodation centers or at the pickup points or at the train stations. When it comes, and at that time, we really saw the need, especially to support small civil society organizations, because they were in the front line. Some of them, for instance, as I mentioned, with the organization that we worked in Poland, the Ukrainian associations, it was basically a group of volunteers that mobilized themselves to provide support. So this is really showing how kind of the will was there, but the support provided through the hub and later on through other resources was to back up these efforts and to structure it a bit better. But working more, we understood the fact that it was not given a particular attention to the most marginalized group and how to include them and consult them. So which we saw it does to come in after, with the progress. And we know that as best sometimes and the conflict is still active, so the crisis is moving more to a retroactive rather than we need to adjust ourselves as well. But Elena, Angela, please add.
I mean, what I can perhaps build on what Alketa was saying towards the end is that, as you know, we are moving towards more of a protracted situation and sort of development strategy, and perhaps a bit, things have calmed down a little, and a lot of the organizations have received training. And I can speak now also from my role as a co-chair of the PSA network in Romania. I think what is important next is to focus a bit more on coaching and mentorship, because there are still, some bits there that haven't been really put together or haven't been really consolidated. Staff has received training. They have started to become a bit more informed about what safeguarding is, what are acceptable, unacceptable behaviors. But I still think, as a priority, there should be this focus on coaching and working one-to-one with organization to help them strengthen their safeguarding system. Thank you.
Okay, Angela?
Yes, thank you, Sarah. I do strongly support the idea of Elena and Alketas that coaching sessions are very useful and very important also for Moldova. It's something practical activities that help a lot our civil society organization to develop, to update their policies with clear safeguarding statements. I totally agree with you that it's important to provide a coaching session involving civil society organization working with vulnerable groups, persons with disabilities, with Roma community. It's a priority for Moldova. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. So our last question before we bring you back to the Menti to hear from you is, what are your plans to ensure the sustainability of our safeguarding work as the hub is closing? I'd like to invite Angela, Elena, and also Susie, our leader, to respond. Who would like to go first? Angela.
Thank you, Susie. First of all, I would like to highlight the fact that our approach was based on cooperation with the local public authorities, how they can support civil society organization to implement their safeguarding policy. And we would like to continue this approach in Moldova. For example, Terdezom Moldova has partners working with the Department of Education, with local public authorities, and it will be very useful to organize safeguarding training for service providers, for local civil society organization, to organize mixed, let's say, a mixed training for them in order to discuss how they can better implement safeguarding policies in the region. I would like to share with you that the representatives of psychopedagogical support services, they are very motivated to complete our online models. Another important priority for Moldova is also to continue to our cooperation with Roma organization, with Mrs. Elena Sârbu, with Romni platform, due to the fact that Terdezom Moldova has experience in working with Roma community. So it will be another priority to focus also on training for community mediators, for civil society organization working with Roma community. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Elena, Susie, if you have a few words to say, we're almost out of time and we still would like to hear from our participants. So.
Okay, so perhaps very quickly from my side again, I will go back to the approach of the hub in Romania. And I think, you know, a good sustainability component will be by building on the role of co-chair at the PSA network, because we'll be able to continue disseminating information about the hub, about the resources that were created, and including on, you know, giving presentations on those resources. So I think one way of going forward will be through this. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Elena. Just to quickly mention at the sector level that there is certainly across the donor community a recognition of the importance of safeguarding, but sadly that is not always translated into actual funding. We have found over the last few months. But as I say, there is a growing recognition of the importance of safeguarding. That's a shared responsibility, a shared risk. And therefore important for everyone to be involved. And thankfully, there are progressive donors out there, including the Disasters Emergency Committee, the DEC, who are considering and taking more account of safeguarding and the importance of including it more systematically in the future. Back to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Susie. So we only have 1 minute left. So we'd like you to come to the Menti and just let us know, does your experience match with ours? Feel free to add onto the slide there. Is what we're saying resonating with you? We'd also like to encourage you to take our survey that we've been to find out how well we've done. And I think someone will be putting that in the chat. The next question, Anna, please. How satisfied were you with the content and the format of this webinar? Could you let us know? And as we ask these questions, I would like to just say thank you to everyone. And I'd like to thank our interpreters who helped us to communicate across Eastern Europe in Polish, Romanian, and Ukrainian. And to our Safeguarding Europe Communications and Program team, Betty, Annie, Miriam, and Inez, always working behind the scenes to help us. To Lucia, Ella, and Irina, who kept crunching the numbers for us, and Alex and Josh, who kept us going with our leader, Susie Taylor. Thanks to our technical team, Ann Kangas, who's out on parental leave, Anna Gown, who jumped in to support her, Alketa, Joe Dempster, Lucy Heaven-Taylor, and Veronica Allenbach. ICFA, Clear Global, and Terre des Hommes, and our SD Direct colleagues in the consortium really were invaluable in making all of this work. And finally, last but not least, our wonderful national country representatives, Dr. Angela Cadaru, Elena Kofaru, and Carolina. I'm Sarah Martin, and I would like to thank you all again for your support. And remember, keep this safeguarding close to the heart of our work. Go to our website. It'll be up until 2025. Download resources and continue the fight to keep all of these refugees safe. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. And we hope to see you again sometime in the future in the work.